You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo.
What's up, friends? Welcome back, and hopefully you guys are having a great day. And I can tell you, we've got some exciting news on the podcast front, and actually the exciting news has actually changed from when I heard the news to when I'm delivering the news. And I will say that doesn't usually happen here on the podcast because it's a daily podcast and we're kind of staying on top of things here. But I found out last night that we were actually ranked in the top 50. We were ranked number 48 in podcasts, both in Apple and in Spotify last night. And then I woke up this morning to find out that actually we had bumped up on the Spotify side, we are now ranked 42nd of all podcasts over there on Spotify. And I can't say thank you enough to all of you listeners, all of you that have been supporting the show. You've been telling your friends, you've been posting it in Discords. And that's really the goal, of this show is, ultimately one of the things that we really wanted to focus on is, education and bringing people on the journey. And we're just so glad so many of you have really related with the show. We have some cool bonuses and things that we're going to integrate into the show upcoming, and we're just excited to share that with all of you. And so thank you for all that are supporting the show. If you have a chance, you can leave a review on Apple or on Spotify. That would be amazing. We would greatly appreciate that. And, we're going to highlight, I was going to highlight a couple projects that, we like to do at the beginning of each show. And I even was thinking about some of the projects that we are minting right now for our project. And I will say, one of them that I really was excited about and we were able to mint yesterday for our project is called the Nudie community, which I like the name of it to begin with. It just rolls off your tongue. You can't help but smile. And the nudie part is actually not what you're thinking it is, or what most of you are thinking. Is actually about the artwork are hairless cats. And so that's kind of like the nudie part. But I really thought the community was interesting, and I got to hear the founders talk on Twitter Spaces probably 5 times over the last 2 weeks. And the more I got to know their story, the more I understood the team, how they came together, even the artist. Really just a big fan of what they're doing as a women-led project, but also a project that I think is really bound to have a pretty amazing community. So they're actually mint day 64, but you guys can check them out, the Nudie community, which I can't help but smile when I actually say that. So for this episode, it's, for those that are listening on audio, you can't see the video that we have over there on YouTube. And just for those that are listening on audio, we do have the YouTube up now, where every episode will have a video component up there on our YouTube channel, which we'll include in the notes. But I'm actually wearing my Pittsburgh Steelers, really, from head to toe. I have my Pittsburgh Steelers hat on. I got my TJ Watt jersey on. I'm even wearing some camo Steelers pants, believe it or not. And I'm even wearing Steelers slippers because it's snowing here in Northern Virginia. And the reason I think that's important is not because I think you care what I'm wearing. Let's face it, nobody should care about what I'm wearing. But the thing that I actually think that is such an interesting underlying aspect of NFT success is fandom. The idea of creating fans and turning, people that maybe are newly discovering you into a fan or into a super fan. Now, I think this is such an essential element for NFT long-term success, but I also think it's something that can be very mislabeled or even kind of misfactored on the early days of most NFT projects. And I think that's a lot to do with just how this all works, right? Right now in my bag of NFTs, I think we have over 400 NFTs between, what's in my personal one and then what's in the project one here for Mint 365. And it would be impossible for me to be a fan of every community of all of the NFTs that I'm a part of. But I also think myself and those that are, the massive enthusiasts in the NFT space aren't the norm, right? I think that we're going to see a lot of the average people are going to have maybe 1 to 5 NFTs that they're holding on to, over a long period of time in their bag. And I think when we think about fandom, and we think about what does it mean to be a fan of a group or a fan of a team or a fan of a band? I think a lot of that has to do, the fandom has a lot to do with this idea of not only relatability, but also just idea of like, we feel a part of something. And I will tell you, I'm looking at a lot of these NFT projects that sell out in 5 minutes, that are massively hyped, that yes, a lot of them are having, are worth a lot of money right out of the gate. And I've been a part of many of these hyped projects. I've won some raffles. I've been gifted into some whitelists, but it feels different. And I know a lot of people are talking about like, what does this look like long term? And most of I'm spending, today was easily 6 hours studying some NFT projects that are coming up over the next couple of days that we're thinking about minting for our project. And the more I'm studying, because I'm studying for this idea of not what does it look like in the short term or how much are we going to be able to sell this for in a month, but I'm really researching this idea of like, does this community have the possibility of being around come November of this year, right? Because that's when, we're going to sell this entire project. And so I'm definitely, a diamond hand hold mindset. But here's the thing, and I think I coined the term, I'm pretty sure I coined the term because I made it up myself, but I really love these slow burn NFT projects. Now, what is a slow burn NFT project? For me, a slow burn NFT project is it kind of falls into two boats. One of them is that they do a small release, like a limited release early on that kind of test the market to figure out, who are their current holders. And then they do like a phase 2 and a phase 3 later on. The other version of this, and it's really kind of what inspires, I think, these type of mechanics, are the NFT projects that launch and they take weeks or even months to sell out. Now, you might be saying like, Brian, why does that make sense? Like, if the project has great art and the founders are doxed and they're trustworthy, and they've done a decent job marketing, that project should sell out in a day or 2 days, or at least in a week. And what I'm here to tell you is no, that's not necessarily true. When you look at the projects, and I've been studying this really, really in depth on project success and project launching, a lot of the nuances around projects, launching and minting out right away has a lot more to do with how many whales or how many sharks or how many, big time names that you're getting into a project and how many they're buying, right? And I would argue if you look at the number on OpenSea, and I wanted to pull up this data while we're actually here recording, and I'll pull it up, here on the screen. Is one of the things that we don't talk enough about in the NFT space, and it's for multiple reasons, is individual owners, right? Like how many individual owners does a project have? And I will tell you, when we think about individual owners of a project, like what percentage of the 10,000 NFTs are held in, how many people are individuals are holding it in their wallet? One of the things that we think about in that scenario is that, well, if the number's high, that means most people have like one. And in that case, most people, if they love the community, they're not really willing to sell that NFT. Therefore, there's not a lot of activity and not a lot of traction. And so from the outside, it almost looks like that project is like stalled out. But I actually think of it the other way. And I actually think we're going to change the way we evaluate NFTs over the next couple of months. And the cool part about that is with this NFT project is we're going to be a part of that here on the podcast, right? We're doing this every day. Because one of the things when you look back at a project, when I'm looking at a project, let's say one of the projects I comes to mind, there was a project that launched in December of this year. Really wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to mint it for this project that we're working on here and tried to jump in the whitelist. Didn't have time to kind of maximize the whitelist. And I was ready. I was locked and loaded with my ETH to buy the project. I was on the website. Actually, for the one that I'm thinking about, I even went to the contract. I was going to mint off the contract. And the project sold out right away. I'm talking like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, it sold out. And we could complain about bots and how that happened, but it sold out. Well, that project recently surfaced back into my view because a friend of mine was like, Brian, hey, I can't believe like the floor price is where it's at on this project. You should check it out. And I will tell you, I went back and looked at it, and then I wanted to look at the trends of the project over since the day it launched. So I logged into my favorite tool, which is icy.tools. and I pulled up the project itself, and I was looking at the different, like, okay, what was the floor price? What was the min price? And then I was looking at, like, what are the total individual owners? And then what was the high points of people buying, and what were the low points? Like, what were those extremes of the project? And, what I found was, not only the project shot up in price, early on, which a lot of them do, and then it had its dip, and then it had its a little bit more of its equaling out, which is pretty much on trend for most projects. One of the things I've noticed was the number of individual holders over the last, let's say, 3 weeks has actually has grown. So a lot more people are buying one and only holding onto one of this project. Now, from my standpoint now, when I'm looking back at it, when I look at the price, like, I remember like a week after, I was like, I'm not going to spend that much to get into this project. Well, now when I see where the project's at, I'm actually more like highly inclined to actually jump into that project. And I think it comes down to this idea of fandom, because what makes us, a fan of a project or a fan of a team or a fan of a band, a lot of it has to do with like our emotional connection to that brand, to that band, or to that sports team, or in many cases also the memories and the things that we can link to it, right? And I would argue in most cases, if you become a fan of something, a band or music or even like, maybe your vehicles or maybe a video game, before it becomes the trendy thing, your commitment and attachment to that brand or that team or that event is actually higher, right? And the reason I believe that is there is because you feel closer, you feel a part of it. And as it starts to rise in fame or popularity or success, you start thinking about it as like together we're doing this. And so when I look at slow burn NFT projects, of course, the number one that comes to my mind is Expansion Punks, right? Expansion Punks launched in August. I discovered it on December 12th. At the time, it had only minted out about 3,400 or 4,300 of the 10,000 NFTs at that point. And I was amazed after listening to the founder, hearing the story, looking at the art, that it was not sold out yet. And most of you know, and if you don't know, I interviewed the founder on the podcast a little while back. You guys can check out that episode with the founder of Xpunks. But I remember going to the OpenSea account and like pounding the refresh button because I'm like, wait, why is it not refreshing the 10,000? And then I realized it wasn't sold out. And as the story goes, over the next 2 days, they did Twitter Spaces over the next 2 days and went from 4,000 over 4 months to selling out that last 6,000 in about 2 days. And the reason that I love this project is that those people that were in it before I was, their commitment and love for what the team was doing and the team's commitment, but also their ability to kind of shape what the project is all about, was really something special. And now that it's sold out, and yes, the price had gone up, and that can be fun and is successful. But when I look and listen to that community, they're like, how can we help out? What can we do to be a part of it? And there's like this sense of camaraderie because they feel like they are part of the reason for its launch success. Now, the opposite of that are projects that are, whitelisting, people that are in maybe that have some of the most popular NFTs, and the project launches and sells 10,000 immediately. But let's face it, most of those projects, people are buying 5 or 10 of them and they're flipping them overnight. So of those 10,000, maybe there's only 4,000 or 3,000 individual holders. Well, all of a sudden those holders are flipping over, people are making money, the floor price is going up. But if you look at the Discord of those type of communities, the focus is not only on the floor price, but the focus is on almost shaming those that are doing things that aren't what's best for everyone else that's holding it. And then eventually when it gets leveled out, there's this sense, in my opinion, of emptiness, where a project, it doesn't have that bond and connection. Now, I believe that that bond and connection can actually be fixed based on, how committed the founders are to being integrated in that project, doing, weekly or daily updates. But here's the thing about these slow burn projects is not only does it build up over time, but I also think there's something to be said about when you ask somebody about, oh, I see that you have a diamond dog. Another shout out to another great project. And we're going to have Evan Mendoza from the St. Louis Cardinals, who is the founder of Diamond Dogs. We're going to have him on the podcast very soon. One of the things that I love about that community is that it is definitely a slow burn NFT project. But everyone that's in there, right? A lot of my friends, shout out to Katie. I know Katie is a listener of the podcast, and she actually got her first NFT as a diamond dog because she listened to the podcast here. And like when I see the interaction, I open up that Discord. It is so much like commitment and attachment to the overall purpose and mission that it just feels special. And I will tell you, I feel that in our Discord with this podcast. Because I know for many of you that you either didn't know who I was or you jumped in because you wanted to learn NFTs, and you probably were in other Discords that had a lot more people in them and they were really loud and noisy. But I feel as though like I know almost every single person in our Discord, and I feel like when they're asking a question or commenting or making a suggestion, I know that they're coming from a place of they want what's best for this project because they've been there along this journey, and it's not too late to be a part of that journey. And so the slow burn concept to me is something we're going to look back on and realize that a project's success is actually not tied to its ability to mint out right away. I would actually argue it's not even tied to its ability to drive a massive floor price right away. I mean, VeeFriends, which we could argue is one of the top blue chip NFT projects that launched in 2021, it took 13 days to sell out VeeFriends. VeeFriends, for every sense of it, was a slow burn because not only was it early in the NFT life cycle, but Gary Vee had added so many complexities to his NFTs that most people couldn't figure out, and I was one of them, like which one you wanted and what would it get me, almost to the point where you were so like in depth with what was going on that you just decided to get none, right? And now granted, if that was launched today, it would be a little bit different of a scenario, but I will tell you the people that are talking that I know of. I have a bunch of good friends that are VeeFriends holders. Shout out to Vicky and Eric and Stuart. There's the three that come to my mind right away. They just love and believe in like not only in Gary but the people that are around them, so much so that there are even accounts that are like the community of VeeFriends and VeeFriends for life. And I don't like to use those 1%ers as examples because they're usually the exception to the rules, but that is a slow burn project. And I will tell you, for me, I've had people come to me and say, Brian, I heard you talk about this project on the podcast, and I can't believe it's only sold 1,000 NFTs or 1,500 NFTs right now. And my answer back to all of you is, when I talked about that project, did I not focus on the community, the long-term value, the roadmap, the belief I have in the founders delivering on what they are committed to? And if I did, the question I have to fire back to you on, don't you think it's even actually a benefit for you as a early NFT holder if the community is smaller? Because your connection to those founders and that team and that culture, you actually get to help shape the culture. Like I'm gonna make this argument right now that I actually think that if you have, like, let's say you have 1 or 2 or 3 NFTs that you really love and you're looking for a fourth NFT, I would look at an NFT that is 2 or 3 weeks old and has not sold out yet. Yep, you heard that here. I don't think you're going to get that advice anywhere else. Because guess what? You have an ability to be able to shape that and be a part of it. And you could be able to come on that journey. And in many cases, you have the ability to buy a couple of them. You have ability to pick the artwork that you want that matters most to you. And as more people come into this space, the more people that we get from Coinbase NFTs, the more people that, you guys share this podcast with, a friend that doesn't believe in NFTs, they listen to this podcast and all of a sudden they're hooked. Imagine if, the couple 100,000 that listen to this podcast right now, if each one of you shared it with one person, right? We would add 100,000, 200,000 new NFT collectors to this space. And if they're looking at it and saying, what are the ones that people feel in their core that they're a part of and they believe in it and it's like their tribe, those are the ones that the new people are going to want to be a part of. And in many cases, the other projects, their floor prices are going to be so high that the entry point is going to be so difficult that most of those projects are going to be what people jump in on. And then get this. This is how I look at the flip. Most people are talking, Gary Vee and some others are talking about, understanding that at some point when true NFT winter gets here, a lot of these projects are going to go to zero, and then you'll have kind of the blue chip projects, and then like the projects that are built like a small business or like a true startup are going to succeed. I'm actually looking at it even from the standpoint of, I think a lot of these slow burn projects, a lot of these projects that have loyal fans that maybe own 3 or 4 that will not sell. Like, I own 6 X-Punks. Well, we own 7 total, right? Of the 7 total, there's only 1 that I'd be willing to sell right now. And honestly, with 4 of them, I don't really care what you offer me as far as ETH. I'm not selling them, right? They're ones that I'm attached to them that much. My Playboy Rabbitar, my Crypto Dad NFT, those are not for sale. They will not be for sale. Actually, they are for sale. But hold on, let me caveat that. I don't like saying that I would never sell them. I put them up for 93 ETH. If someone gives me 93 ETH for my Crypto Dad, my Playboy Rabbitar, my Expansion Punk, maybe one of the Women with Weapons, or one of the other projects that I am diamond handing and in love with, 93 ETH, I would be willing to give them up with. Yeah. If you throw 93 ETH at me, because then you know what? I can pick another 1 or 2 on that project, and then I can also make a massive impact if someone is buying that for me with 93 ETH. But the reason I say that's such an important piece of this is, imagine if the core crew, the core people in your 10,000 NFT project, imagine if you had 2,500 people that were ride or die, that were there to the end, and each one of them owned 2 of your NFTs. Well, okay, now you're at 5,000 of your total collection. That means there's going to be 5,000 others that are going to have turnover, that are going to be flipped, that are going to be on the floor, then picked up, and then kind of recycled. But imagine how strong of a community that 5,000 will be. And the more that they onboard their friends, and the more that they kind of build that network on top of that community, all of a sudden that exclusivity grows. All of a sudden the core value grows. Another project that you definitely have to check out, Chibi Labs and the Chibi team. They have the Chibi Galaxy, the Chibi Apes. Another project that I believe is massively undervalued, but I look at them as a slow burn success story. Mark my words, like this episode right now, and I will say, like, part of the reason I was excited to do this episode, in all honesty, I actually had this episode recorded a day before, but this is episode 66, and my favorite hockey player, the greatest hockey player of all time, is actually Mario Lemieux. The magnificent Mario, and I'm a big Wayne Gretzky fan too. No schneid at Gretzky. Gretzky is the great one, but I in Mario Lemieux wore number 66. And funny enough, like, not only did I tell you guys that I'm into numbers, but here's another thing is I'm not great at remembering a lot of things, like what number something was, or, and a lot of it has to do with my ADHD and my short-term memory problems that I end up having. But here's the thing, that I'm so confident and bullish on this concept that when I'm like recording episode 187, which I picked 187 because if you're a hockey fan, you'll know that, the greatest player currently playing hockey, Sidney Crosby, wears number 87. See what I did there? Yeah, I bleed all Pittsburgh sports. You have to you have to live with it. But let's say I'm recording 187. This is how confident I am. I wanted to remember what episode number I committed to this concept. So whenever I'm right, whenever we're excited and we're celebrating these projects, like the West Coast Customs project, like the Expansion Punks, like Women Rise project. We minted Women Rise on November 12th, or November 14th on this project. November 14th, we minted Women Rise. It just minted out 3 days ago, and it is now the top 5 in OpenSea chart. We minted that long ago. Right? Another one, Alpha Girls. We minted Alpha Girls in November. It just minted out yesterday or the day before yesterday. Those are slow burn projects. But guess what? All of a sudden they mint out. A couple people are recognizing it, and all of a sudden the price is going up. Why is that? Because they're starting to recognize what really matters. And it's not the shiny graphics, the celebrity hawking the project, your ability to sell out to whales overnight. It is about the core culture of your project and your ability to turn each and every NFT holder into a fan. A fan so much so that they will buy your merchandise and they will print out their NFT, because guess what? When you print out the NFT, I have a couple NFTs that I've got printed onto canvas. I have one that's on a t-shirt. Guess what I'm not doing with the NFT that is merched out? I am not selling it because I am that committed. Think about that when you're evaluating NFT projects. Think about that when you're launching your own NFT project. It is not a bad sign that a project is a slow burn mint out. It takes a couple days, a couple weeks, even a couple months to sell out, because if that project is truly worthy of what it says it was, it will deliver on its roadmap. It will stay committed to those early fans and recognize that they are the core to their future. And whenever it does mint out, whenever it does hit that public attention, it'll be stronger and it'll be more powerful than every one of those projects that mint out overnight. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is definitely, for me, a lot to do with like our changing tide as consumers. One of the use cases that I like to kind of tie into the podcast here, is if, for brands, especially brands that are out there. I had a Twitter space the other night, and we were talking a lot about brands and agencies in the NFT space. I think brands and agencies need to, take a step back and look back at that 1,000 true fan model by Kevin Kelly and start asking themselves, where are there 1,000 true fans? And then how do I empower those true fans? It's not about giving away 100,000 NFTs because you want 100,000 people to be talking about your project. But imagine if you were able to get your NFT in those 1,000 true fans' hands, and then you're able to engage with them on Discord, learn what their behavior patterns are, use them as a test bed and to, product launch and beta testing. And all of a sudden, you don't have to ask the question, what does my consumer base look like in Web3? You can actually say, I have my community base, I have that consumer base, and they're actually already donning our NFT and they're already shaping our mission and our vision. I think that is a massive, powerful use case for all those brands and those out there that are listening, that really want to dive into Web 3.0. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Cheers to those slow burn NFT projects. If you are a founder and your project is not sold out, stick with it. If you are a holder of a project that you believe in at its core and you know that it has value, take on your role with amplifying it, with celebrating it. Bring in 1 or 2 friends. Maybe buy 3 of them yourself and gift them to people to bring them in to those communities that are powerful. There's a lot of projects that are going to go back to zero. I believe has nothing to do with their current floor price. I don't believe it has anything to do with their ability to sell out, or even in many cases how great their art is. I think it actually has a lot to do with how many true fans do they have? How many people believe in that culture, the mission and the vision, and are ride or die no matter what? Those are the projects that I'm looking for. Those are the projects I hope you're looking for. And until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers. Hopefully you guys, enjoyed that episode. I want to share real quick with you guys, actually on the screen, that I actually can sort the stats in OpenSea by number of owners. And so this is what I was actually talking about was, looking at individual owners. Like this project here, the Psychedelics Anonymous, it's a project that I actually am holding. And I will tell you, like, one of the neat things about that project is, it minted out. It had a lot of hype. The team did a great job. But the fact that it has, there's only 9,600 items and yet 6,800 individual owners. That to me is like a sign of a lot of people that are, holding one and that are ride or die and that kind of believe in that long term of the community. But definitely something to check out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in via video. I'm going to try to do these little like extra sound bites, little extra clips, maybe a little screen share at the end of these for you guys that are watching on video. Since, hey, it's a video medium, we might as well use some video visual components to bring you guys some extra value. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the turn on the bell so you're aware every time that we post a new episode. And till tomorrow, cheers.